your mind, lost in
Have to have a personality because they're attractive. Yeah, I totally get it.
And you know something, like it's the total opposite with women because like
Hmm.
there are women, I know somebody like this. She's absolutely wonderful, very attractive,
Hmm.
but like the most humble, most genuine person you'll ever meet. And it's like I don't think for her like it's all about her beauty. Like she's
Right.
very hippie, very like bohemian and down to earth. So like I could totally see where you're coming with this. You know, we're
Hmm.
feeling more comfortable being around women, especially doing those type of photographs because you can get more personality and character with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so with men, they're very good at faking their confidence, right? So
Ooh,
I'm
honey, spill the
very,
tea, darling.
like, I don't have to fight with them so much because they typically know what they have to do to seem more confident even than they are. And which is fine, but it makes my job too easy. So I prefer women.
Have you had any like, you know, I'm just curious because I know like always photographers, sometimes you have that story. You know, you ever had like that one client that came in, it's like that memorable story that just stuck with you?
There have been a few over the years. I think my favorite person who I've photographed a few times now. She is in her mid to late 70s. Her husband died a few years ago. She's ready to get back out
Oh,
there. She's getting dating pictures done, and
oh,
I
so
absolutely
cute.
adore her. She is like she's like, I'm a little woo, she's very woo. So we kind of get into that a little bit, but no, she's amazing and just the best person I've ever like photographed. Like, she knows what she wants, but she's willing to like let me guide her too. So yeah, she's my favorite. I love her.
I, it's so weird because like online dating, especially for, you know, the older generations, such as like you know, baby boomers, and
Hmm.
in that case, like it's a very different world because they're very used to this idea of like, you know, going on a date or like meeting somebody in person, like this idea of like putting on a profile, you know? Like they think of like, you know, they think of like Lucille Ball, you know, and like the dating game, you know, and like
Yeah,
her
yeah.
like getting all those pamphlets flying all over the place or some silly shit like that.
You look too young to know who that is.
Honey, I grew up
I
with
love it.
parents that were baby boomers, my
Oh,
dad and my
right.
mom, and like
Yeah.
that's all I saw as a kid.
I love that. That's amazing. Yeah, no, it's a very different world, and I'm very glad that I'm not dating because I don't know that I would if that's my only option. Yeah, no, it looks like a nightmare, but I do. So I've been kind of advertising for dating pictures, like especially this month because it's Valentine's Day, but
Right.
it's it's kind of hit or miss. Not everybody does professional pictures. And especially for some people that are going to like dating coaches, they say, don't use any filters, like be yourself, don't, you're going to meet this person in person anyway. So, like don't go overboard with the filters and whatever. Um,
Right.
but I do like doing those, and because we can get a little more personal, and even though it's mostly headshots, like, you're not holding a fish. Right. The fish holder's got to go. uh, but there's a little more variety when I do these, and I do go very soft on the editing, um, especially because they're like, I gotta look like me, and if you don't have a headshot at least every year, you do change. There are like little differences, either your hair changes or your whatever, your weight changes, um, but
Yeah.
it's probably one of my very favorite things to do because it's a fun shoot. Like, they're there to have an experience with whoever they're dating, and they have these awesome pictures, and those are always good.
To be fair, like as a person that has dabbled in online dating,
Mm-hmm.
um, if I see an account that has professional photos versus I'm a gay man and I have to deal with this a lot. The guys that they're on a yacht that's not theirs, in front of a Bugatti that's not theirs,
Yeah.
in a club they've never been to in their entire life, next
Uh-huh.
to a girl they've never seen. I'm like, do you like? How do you think this is attractive to me? Like,
Right.
I would never go out with you in a million years, even if you paid me to go.
Right.
But like, whereas sometimes like you get that guy or girl or whatever that has, those professional photos, which I have seen those.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, oh, that's so cute. Where do they get those done? That's like the first thing that comes in my head.
Yeah.
And you're right, because there's this idea of adding filters and
Mm-hmm.
such of that nature. Yeah, like getting your picture done is a little bouge, but it's not like faking that you own a fucking Bugatti,
Exactly. Oh my God,
right?
exactly. Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. Like they're getting advice from whoever, probably on TikTok, that's like, well, you have to show what you want to attract. But it's like, all right, but what are they going to do when they find out you don't have the yacht? you know?
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
my
silly.
God. I know. Oh God. It's crazy because when you live your life artistically in this world, you kind of have to like navigate and figure out like what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it sounds like you kind of figured out what you wanted to do as a photographer.
Mm-hmm.
But, a lot of the times you kind of get caught into the winds of, well, how am I supposed to make money doing this? Should I sell out to the big, large photography corporations so I have a steady paycheck?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because when you're an independent artist, a lot of the work falls on you. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of the creativity, like, the direction you want to go, it's all in your hands and
Right.
nobody else's.
Right. It is, um, it's hard. it's very hard. So I was a single mom for a long time, and I was bouncing from like working at a grocery store decorating cakes to a bank foreclosing people's businesses. So I've had very different experiences in, corporate. But when I finally acquired the camera that I needed to actually go professional, um, I started just doing it on the weekends, and eventually I was making more than I was at the bank, but that isn't saying much. It's just that I was making more, than $22,000 a year that they were paying me. Yeah. So, so it wasn't like
Goals,
much more, but I was much
goals.
happier. Yeah. And then it just kind of took off like a year later, which is great. But I also have a husband, like we're a dual income family. So it's not as scary. Um, but on the same breath, like people get caught up in, okay, I want to be XYZ, like sculptor, musician, whatever. And they get caught up in the, how do I do this full time? And there's really no reason to right away. Like, be a weekend warrior, do your thing, see where it goes. And a lot of people find that when they do go full time with their passion, they're just overwhelmed, and they don't know, it's very stressful for them because they were doing this fun thing and now they have to do this fun thing. And it shifts your gears into, this is a job now. and I'm in charge of all of it. What do I do? So there's nothing wrong with just keeping it as a side gig, unless you're exhausted and you have to go part time or something with your regular job. But
Right.
there's no reason to put all of that pressure on yourself. Like, how would I do this? Like, just let go of the how. you know, let it be, and just do what you're doing, post, and usually you find out that you're doing exactly what people want you to do, you know, and
Right.
it will catch up, but it's hard.
It's also like, you bring up a really great point, because when, especially like now, when you're a creative person, and you want to do something, that is not only beneficial, because it's primarily beneficial to yourself. That's what you're
Hmm.
doing.
Hmm.
And, you don't want to run into the situation where you burn yourself out.
Right.
For example, you can burn yourself out with doing photography. Like, you have a full-time
Absolutely.
job, and then you're like, shit, I gotta be out of here at 5 o'clock. Fuck, I gotta be at the shoot at like 6:35.
Yeah.
Like, you have to do everything within reason,
Yeah.
and like be able to balance, because like you want to be able to do your craft, but at the same time, you want to be responsible. You want to be able to be independent and
Hmm.
be in control of your finances.
Hmm.
And these type, again, like I've talked about this so many times, these type of conversations are heavily ignored, because
Hmm.
you go on TikTok, you go on YouTube, and you get these 30-second clips of these people like, you could be a professional photographer. Come with me. I'll
Yeah.
show you the way. And
Exactly.
it's very unrealistic and high expectations that will burn out 99% of people.
Absolutely. And I have been burned out. And well, December, I took December off. I needed to take December off because I was like getting to that point where I'm like, I can't do this right now. It was very,
Right.
yeah. Oh, how did you get? I'm sorry, my cat's in here. I thought
That's
I closed all
okay.
the doors.
Oh, no. They find their
They
ways.
sure do.
Yeah. I have one too. She might pop around in a bit, or she might just meow off
Yeah.
camera,
Yep.
which is another thing that they do.
It
Cats,
is.
can we talk about a minute of how difficult it is to photograph cats? Like, they have those cute little moments, and then all of a sudden, like,
Yep.
what's this? Like, why are you moving your head now? Like,
Yeah.
you weren't moving it before.
Right. No, it is hard. And I have a few times attempted to take pictures of our cats like in the studio, like just putting them there and having my kid behind them, like shaking something or behind me shaking something to get their attention. But it's they're awful. Like they have no interest. So we have two Maine Coons. And
Wow,
yeah,
those
I
are
love
big
them.
cats.
They're huge. Well, the one that's in here right now is about 16 pounds. He's not as big as the 18 and a half or we have.
18 and a half
Yeah.
pounds?
They're so smart
Holy
though. I love
moly.
them. And he's still growing. They grow for 3 years. So he's still getting bigger. The other one stopped, but it's crazy.
Jesus.
Oh, there he is.
Oh my god. Yeah, that looks like a little lion in your house.
That's what he is.
I have a calico,
Oh, I love calicos.
and she's like a calico tuxedo, so like full white belly.
Oh,
Um but she is a runt, and she's a mutt, and she weighs like, I think, 16 pounds.
okay.
And, she is like very clever,
Mm-hmm.
too clever.
Yeah.
Like, like, people don't understand, like, you have to be a little stronger with this cat. It's like, you're not being gentle with her. I'm like, I known this cat since she was a baby. Trust
Right.
me, the more gentle, the more oochie, she takes advantage. She
Uh-huh.
knows. She
Uh-huh.
knows how to manipulate you. Like, there's something else. They really are. There's something else.
That's really funny.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
No, the younger one that we have, he'll play pool in the basement. So he knocks all the balls down the holes, and then or the pocket rather, and then he'll try and chase it down but he's too big. And then he knows how to turn on all of his toys. So he's like pushing buttons.
Oh my
Um,
god.
oh, and he recycles.
Are you
So yeah.
serious?
So if we say, okay, show enough, it's time to recycle, we'll put the little thing on the edge of the recycle bin, and then he just pops up and tucks it
Oh
in.
my
It's really
god.
funny.
Oh my god, it's so cute. I have because I walked my cat Twix, so
Hmm.
it's like this thing where you say bye bye, and she comes running, and then like she looks at, and then when I put on her harness, like we have this whole little thing, so
Mhm.
she'll do the little jolts, and I'll pick up her paw and put it in there,
Mhm.
and when I buckle her in, like every single time I buckle in, she'll like look up at me and she's like, "Wow," and I'm like, "Yeah, we're going out."
Yeah. I know my husband is trying to leash train these guys, but I'm like, oh my god, that
it
is so much work.
it takes about 7 to 8 months to
I
lease
bet.
train them.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, this may sound abusive, but you have to be aggressive.
Right.
You gotta hold that strap. You gotta hold, because the thing about them is they'll learn early on how to get out of it.
Yes, they will.
So you want to make sure they don't.
Oh man. Yeah, that's ugh.
Life of a cat owner.
Right.
It's another level
I'm
of
coming back as a
insanity.
house cat for sure.
Why did we do this to ourselves? Like, what we were thinking, like this was gonna be fun and easy.
Right?
Shit, no.
Yeah.
They kind of just fall into your life, though, don't they?
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. And they're aloof, but they're not too. Like they like they don't particularly like strangers, but they also like love me, Yeah.
At
They're
the
they're
same
very
time, they'll
they're
scratch
very
your eyes out.
Gemini.
Oh wow, yeah, damn. I mean, I was gonna go as far as like maybe even Sagittarius, but
Oh yeah. Well, yeah.
mm-hmm.
No,
Or
if
maybe.
the one you just saw gets hungry, he will come up and nip us. Or
Oh
my
no.
poor daughter, he hates my daughter for some reason. And
Are you
if her door
serious?
is open while she's sleeping, he'll go in and he'll steal stuff and then drag it out and put it in his hoarder corner, because he's got this corner in our room that he just puts all the random stuff that he stole from other people's rooms in this
Oh
corner.
my
He's
god.
neurotic. And then yeah, he'll climb up on her and he'll like just nip at her to get her up so that she feeds him. But it's not for love. It's just, hey kid, get up now.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's kind of hilarious because this kind of reminds me of when you watch like a movie
Mm-hmm.
and they have a cat as kind of one of the main characters. And the thing that always comes into my mind is like, I feel bad for that cast and crew, because the hours it probably took just to get that cat to just do one stupid scene,
Mm-hmm.
get its fat ass on the top of the mantle of the fireplace, was probably like 17 and a half hours.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It's there's that, what is it, that old Hollywood saying like, don't work with kids, don't work with pets, or don't work with animals, because they're very like, they're on their own thing. It's hard to train a cat.
They don't
It's
know they're
hard to
on a
train.
they don't know they're in a
Exactly.
movie.
Yeah. Yep.
You haven't ran into this problem very often, have you?
No, I've photographed professionally maybe 4 people with their
With
cats,
pets.
rather. Yeah. Well, no, dogs are much easier.
No,
Dogs I'm good at.
yeah.
Dogs are very trainable. Cats, yeah, I'm done. And the girls too. They're just constantly taking pictures of them with their phone anyway, so it's whatever. I don't want the hassle of dragging them in there and making
Oh
them
my
behave.
god. Oh my god. It's so weird because like out like one of the things that I've always loved is those photographers that they go out into the wild and they take pictures of wild cats,
Oh
such as
yeah.
cougars and panthers and mountain lions. The thing that like I was watching a documentary and I realized this is they're nocturnal, and they're way more nocturnal than our cats that we have at home.
Yeah.
And they are terrified of humans.
Yeah.
So they will attack you, but they'll
Yeah.
hide. So
Yeah.
like they'll be like behind the bushes or the trees, and like these photographers will like come in there with these cameras, and they'll have to be like very precise and like put it at a right angle and have it at like the right aperture and have
Right.
And you just see this ferocious monster with these just two glowing eyes.
Yeah, they're demons.
But yeah, I mean, that's just that kind of like, again, I know you do different type of photography than
Mhm.
that, but again, it's how the picture moves you and how that picture is being taken.
Exactly. Actually, I have a side story on that. So my youngest has been performing out at different places for open mic night, and there's one coffee shop that we go to for that, and they have this drawing up like on the like most of their art is to sell like on the walls, and then they have this one up top that is not for sale, but they know the artist, so they gave me his number and whatever. So this picture, this drawing is of three girls, like kind of just in a bathtub hanging over. There's wine and there's wine glasses and there's two cats and there's this guy just walking by in the background. And I'm like, what is this? What is this story? So I called the artist because I really want a print of this because it's freaking amazing. And he gave me the whole backstory because I had no idea what was going on. I'm like, is it an orgy? Whatever. I'm like, what is happening here? But it wasn't anything like overtly sexual. So I'm like, all right. So he told me it's a bacchanal, which I had not heard the phrase before, but it's an art piece dedicated to Bacchus. And it is of the three girls in the tub are three baristas that used to work there in 1998. And like everything was, those are his two cats. He gave me the names of the two cats. The guy in the background was somebody that came up to visit the artist, and they're like, Andre, come on in. And he just, like it was very funny, the story that he had on it. And I'm like, I love it even more now. Thank you.
I mean, I'm now starting to wonder what exactly these baristas were doing back in 1996.
Right? Like, I don't know, man. The 90s
Uh-huh.
were weird. I
Yeah,
gotta
no.
stop my cat from crashing down. I'm
No,
really sorry.
no,
He
no,
just climbed up
you're
on one of my
okay.
frames.
Oh my god.
All right, you are out of here. Come on.
Oh, listen,
Out.
it's the life. It's the life of a cat owner. I
Oh
mean,
my
they
god,
are
no.
absolutely adorable and cute and fluffy
They are.
and
It makes me so
pretentious.
mad.
But I told you, they steal the moment. This is what they do. They steal the moment. They get in your face. Like,
Right.
we're lucky right now Twixie is not here. Okay, let's just pray to the bejesus that she just keeps to her lane.
Right? No, I accidentally left the basement door open, which is how he came up.
Oh, shit.
So this is like my office studio space, and I shut the main door, and I forgot to shut the basement door, but it's shut now.
Yay!
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because like we were talking about like the 90s, like I mean, being a photographer in the 90s, especially like the part-time baristas, like there's been 100 cheat like rom-coms and cheese flicks
Sure.
that are all about the shit. And what I've always loved about the story is the actor never holds the camera correctly.
Oh, never.
Never.
Yeah. No, never. No. And
Never
it
adjust
drives
the
me
lens.
up a wall.
Oh
Yeah.
god. It's
No,
like,
they are awful. And it's like now it's worse because everybody has a camera on their phone.
oh my
It's
god.
like now they really don't know what to do with a real camera. Yeah, it's oh god, that's funny. Yeah, the 90s were a weird time. I'm were you born in the
99.
90s? 99. Okay. Um yeah, they were a bizarre time, and especially for photography because things were very I forget the word. Very male driven then, like especially then. And it
Oh, okay.
shows like women had a really hard time kind of breaking through. And of course there's the exceptions like Annie Leibovitz and a few others, but there aren't very many. And especially that made it bigger. So it's yeah, it was kind of the Wild West back then. And even if you watch movies from then too, it's like it's very they wouldn't be allowed to do the things that they're doing.
Austin Powers, can we give yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that movie was all about a guy that just fucked his way throughout the decades. That's it. That's all Austin
That's it.
Powers is.
Yep.
Done.
Yep.
Great movie.
Oh my
Would be
god.
made in 2024? No.
No.
Oh god, a lot of
Nope.
people. You know how many people would be fired if they try to make an Austin Powers? Like we would hear like Fox News in like an hour or two. Breaking
Right.
news in Hollywood: 500 members of staff have been fired.
Right.
You're like, what did they do? They tried to remake the
Oh.
Austin Powers movie. Oh shit! I told you they shouldn't have done it.
Yeah. Nope. No, there's a lot. The 80s were worse too. Like we have all the Porky's movies and all, these stupid things. So yeah, being an 80s baby, I was like, I don't know. It was a weird time.
It really was. You know what was kind of really interesting though, like even like the photography, because you can, like you were saying, like you can definitely tell like the different photography styles.
Mm-hmm.
The 90s was very male dominant. It's like very erotic, the very
Yeah.
high and saturated colors and just
Mm-hmm.
wildness. The 80s was kind of like the glamazon. It's like
It was, yeah.
yeah, it's like, this like tough, like this broad, like shoulder pads. Every
Yes.
fucking lady had shoulder pads. They're like the boss lady.
Yeah.
I'm the boss girl. And like, it really showed in that decade. And it's interesting, like how I don't know how to put it. It's like almost as if like that was kind of like the sorry, the key markers of photography in that period. But was that done through males or was that done by female photographers?
I mean, both. So the shoulder pads, because like even in the 70s, women working outside the house was a very rare thing. So once the 80s came along, women you kind of had to work for most people. Like you needed that double income. So when they would go into the office, it was like the first time that they're like getting the jobs against male, right? And they're getting like office jobs and whatever, and they want to fit into that male office world. And so that's why the shoulder pads, it's like they called it a power suit. So that's why the shoulder pads, that's why the bright colors,
the big hair,
they were trying to compete with men in the office. And then the 90s hit and the shoulder pads went away, thank God, but they're coming back. I hate it.
Put them back.
I know.
Put them back.
Oh man. No, it's bad.
Well, look, crocheted vests and bell bottoms and blouses with flowy, like the big poofy sleeves, those are okay. I mean, it's old, it's like very 70s-esque.
Yeah.
But you're right, there's something about like, not even within the eras, it's like with the photography. I hate being sick. Anyway,
I know, I'm sorry.
It's okay. When you have photography and you're dealing with like the working class woman, the woman that like has 2 kids at home and she needs to get that second job, in a way that kind of will always be a marker of that period. And it's like you can't deny that. There's proof of it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very interesting to me how, at least for the 1900s, like we can mark the decades by what people were wearing. Yeah, it's like the 70s is, as far as fashion goes anyway, it was probably one of my favorite fashion decades. I know I hated it in the 90s, but now I love it.
All I wear is 70s and 80s clothes. It's like like my whole wardrobe is just t-shirts, bell-bottom jeans, wonky boots. Yeah. You have to. I mean, listen, it's too boring these days.
Yep, it is. And everything's coming back, which is funny. So in the 90s, we had kind of a 70s resurgence. So like everybody's wearing bell bottoms and whatever, and big pants. I don't know where the big pants came from.
Yeah, umbrella pants.
Yeah. And then,
or elephant trunks.
Now it's all coming back.
Do you have, like, when you're doing your photo shoots, that people will want to dress up in different decades sometimes?
I have not so much decades, but I do have a working wardrobe in the studio. So like I have gowns and stuff if they want to go a little more glam.
Wow.
I have blazers just in case they didn't bring one if it's for headshots or whatever. Um but yeah, it's I coach people very well when they sign up for a session on what to bring, what to buy, what to because a lot of people forget that stuff. Like if you're especially for women, like if you have your old favorite bra on, it is not going to support you the way that it should for a picture. I'm like, look, if it looks old and worn, or if it is old and worn, it's going to appear that way when I take the picture. So watch for pills, watch for, there's all kinds of stuff that we get into.
And it's it's things that like things that you have to deal with, and understand like the way that you're representing it. Like for example, one of the coolest things that you'll notice throughout the decades of photography, and look at like even for example, let's talk about like the 60s. Okay,
Hmm.
I have seen videos from the 60s, and you look at these films and you're like, oh my god, these people, they're us, they
Yeah.
are us, we're the same, we
Yeah.
look the same. It's the only difference, like the only difference is that our cars were different, the way we paid for things were different, the way that we communicated were different.
Hmm.
And you get all of that sometimes just by a photo or watching a film. You realize that like that's why when they glam things up, like about like
Hmm.
the 70s, it doesn't
Right.
feel real.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. But it is really funny, like going back as an adult watching like clips from Woodstock, for instance, like 1969, right? Um, and they look like to as a kid, I always thought that it was like, oh, they're so gross and hairy and old, right? But as I got older, I'm like, oh my
Mm.
god, they're all babies. What are they doing?
They were 14, 15,
Yeah,
sometimes
no, it's
13, 12 years
crazy.
old.
So I graduated in '99.
Oh,
And we
wow.
had
Great
and I'm
year.
in Buffalo, so I'm right, yeah, right. I'm right near where they had Woodstock in '99, and I'm so glad I did not go. So it was, I don't know if you watched anything about the horrors that happened there, but there was a couple of documentaries that came out about the 30th anniversary of Woodstock, and
Oh, yeah, the Woodstock 99. Yeah, oh my
whew,
God,
it was
those
a
were
train crash. Holy.
Wood Woodstock 99 was notorious for the STDs because like
Hmm.
it's okay, try to understand this. Like throughout the 80s, no one gave a shit about AIDS, which was like the dumbest thing because like this whole like war against homosexuals. It's like
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
stupid. Anyway, so they get off of that stupid bandwagon like in the
Hmm.
mid 90s, might I add. We're not even talking about like no, mid 90s, like
Right.
95, 96.
Right.
And then these fucking geniuses were like, let's make a festival, because like the last Woodstock was terrible as it is. And everybody got STDs.
Yep.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
There
What the
was,
fuck?
and it was bad. Like I don't know who's letting their 14 and
Do you
15-year olds
remember when
go
that
do that.
happened?
I do remember when that happened.
Oh
Yeah, it
my
was gross.
God.
But there was also a lot of assault and a lot of people that never came forward by, they're embarrassed that they were assaulted or whatever. So it was not this like happy thing, and at the end of it, everybody's setting crap on fire. So I was a mess. I was so glad, like I could afford the ticket, but I couldn't afford to stay all 3 days or camp or do any of the other
Oh
stuff
my
that they
God,
were
you were
doing.
there?
I wasn't there. I was
Oh
almost
shit.
there. Yeah,
Oh my
no, I
God.
I
Don't
wanted to
scare me
be
like
there.
that.
No, no, no. I wasn't there.
Shit. Okay.
But it was like, who wants to miss this? Like everybody's favorite bands at the time were going to play there, and I just had no money. So it was fine. I'm so glad I missed it, to be honest.
It's weird because I've talked about this before and how like Woodstock has never happened again.
No.
To think that I grew up in New York. I grew up in Rockland County, and I
Mm-hmm.
went up to Sullivan County,
Mm-hmm.
where Woodstock didn't take place in Woodstock, New York.
Right.
It took place in Bethlehem.
Right.
So I went there, and I mean, if anybody's ever had a chance, like you just go there and you can kind of hear, like, I know it sounds so like creepy, but like you can hear the echo of Woodstock still there on the
Yeah.
fields.
Yeah.
And I remember we went down to the little town, and here's the crazy part: is when you go to the little town, there are people there that are still alive right now that
Mm-hmm.
were there in 1969 giving out, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, were the ones getting people's cars. And I, like, talking to these people, I was just like, how was this even possible? You know what they told
Yeah.
me? They
Mm-hmm.
told me that they have never seen anything like that ever before in their life.
Yeah.
It just was a magical 3 days. And it's
Yeah.
like, you can see that within the photography. That's what I was
Right.
going to get at. Like, you could see
Yeah.
with Jimi Hendrix holding his guitar up and the
Absolutely.
crowd, or Janis Joplin smacking her tambourine. Like,
Right.
there's nothing like that you can
No.
ever replicate.
No. No, there isn't. And they kept trying. And now the guy that managed it, or like the guy that invented it or whatever, he's dead, I think. Like, I think he died within the last 5 years. Almost positive.
I think so. Yeah, they tried to do another Woodstock, I believe, back in
Yeah.
2000. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
we missed our chance. It's
Yeah.
okay.
No, it's never. And now we have Coachella, or whatever. I know I don't like it either, but it's it is what it is. Um.
It's so horrible. Like, isn't that
Yeah.
terrible that that's like our option is like Coachella. If you're rich, you're gonna have so much fun. If you're a
Right.
poor bitch, get to the
Back
back
of the
of the
line.
fucking line.
Exactly. Well, that's what Burning Man turned into too.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that
Yeah.
last one was awful. Like, people
Yeah.
are just leaving cars in the mud. It's supposed to be a like leave no trace kind of deal, and it wasn't.
You know what it is though? It's we're we we constantly change
Hmm.
throughout the eras and the decades, and like not even about like ourselves. This is the thing about holding back to the past. you
Hmm.
know it's always great to be nostalgic, but also kind of remembering that we've changed, and that doesn't mean necessarily on how we can best represent ourselves anymore. Sometimes it's time to move on to better things.
Absolutely. Yep, I agree. It's yeah, it's hard to let go of that, but there's a oh no, I'm gonna get it wrong. But there is a saying that's like looking back, you'll fall. Like, if you you're always gonna fall if you look behind you. But it's yeah. My father-in-law went to Woodstock. So we get
Really?
those stories. Yeah. He my my husband and his sister joke that he Forrest Gumped his way through life.
Are you serious? Oh my
Yeah, so
god.
his friend popped by like the day of Woodstock, and he's all, "You want to go to a concert?" And Vic's all, "I have no job, sure." So he ended up going. It was great. And now he has that story.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
That is absolutely insane. Yeah,
it's nuts.
I remember once that I had a friend of a friend that was in New York, back in the 70s,
Sure.
and was talking about like Studio 54.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll never forget this. His name was George. And
Okay.
he's like, dude, let me explain something to you. He's like, Studio 54 wasn't that cool. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, everybody was tripping quaaludes, and there was this weird freaky dude that's hair was white and all over the place, and he was
Oh.
wild. And I'm like, you mean Andy Warhol? He's like, yeah, that whack job. And he's like, they did weird things. I'm like, what? They drank all different colors. I'm like, dude, were you on the Quaaludes with them too? He's like, maybe. I don't really remember. It was the 70s.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
But you get those kind of characters too,
Yeah.
because like listen, any of these people that went to these places, they got a few screws missing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
For sure.
Especially Studio 54. I can't even imagine what that
Like,
debaucherous
bro.
thing was.
Bro, I mean, there's a reason why it doesn't exist anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. It was, from what I understand, it was just awful. Like, not a place I would want to be. I'm kind of introverted. So, like, I will go out and I will spend time with people, but it takes me I always enjoy myself once I'm there, but I never want to go. You know what I mean? Like, that would have me in a corner, like, huddled up with my glass of water. And
You know something? This is kind of the thing that like I haven't really been able to experience disco before, but I feel like disco is kind of that thing that allows introverts to kind of get into their own zone, because you basically arrive and there's this dance floor that's all
yeah,
lights,
right.
and you get to be like in your zone, and you get to like dance to the sound and the groove. But it's so hard. It's so hard, like when you have to be around other people and socialize and talk to strangers and make conversation, and
Yeah.
you have to casually drink, and laugh when they laugh.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. But anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not great at that. I don't know.
I don't think you have to be great at that to be a good person. I think
Yeah.
I think that's the thing about a lot of artists is we're not extroverts for a reason.
We're not wired that way at all. No. And do you find that your creative hours are later at night too?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, my husband, he's like, you got to go to bed earlier. I can't believe you stayed up until 3. I'm like, but I do my best work. Like, that's when I can focus.
So how do you?
I'd 100%, I'd rather stay up than get up early.
It's weird because the getting up early is like my brain does it for me, and I'm like, bitch.
Yeah.
I didn't ask you. It's kind of weird on how like you have this brain in your head, right? And it's like you're supposedly the one in control.
Right.
But not really. It kind of does whatever the hell it wants to do.
Yep. I'm working with a few doctors on that right now.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, I just got my diagnosis. So I'm bipolar 1 and ADHD. And he is like, he's trying all these different things to kind of make my brain work. And he put me on this very low dose of Ritalin so that I can focus, because I'm really, really bad at that. And I'm like, look, I felt nothing. I could still nap. Like, he was worried that I was going to go, like, let me know if you go into a manic episode. Let me know if you have a headache or if you can't sleep. I'm like, I didn't notice a difference at all. Like, I was fine. I could still sleep. Like, I took a nap one of the days. I'm like, I don't know. So he's like, oh, that means you really have ADHD. I'm like, well, what were we talking about the last 4 months? So so yeah, it's funny because like we're all wired differently, right? And we do find that most artistics are a little neurodivergent, like we all have our tics, our things, it's weird to be diagnosed with something that should have been diagnosed as a child at 42. So I'm just, yeah.
To be honest with you, like I grew up in a ultra orthodox Jewish community, and they, as a person that I'm dyslexic and I have ADHD, they didn't really know what to do with me.
Right.
Like, they didn't understand that you cannot tell me you can't tell me something and expect me to understand it. I have to physically see it. Okay? I have to physically see it or have some type of like idea in my head to understand it.
Yeah.
And you know, it like it's not necessarily about like a pill or any kind of medication. Again, it's like being able to understand that like what you're saying is that you're wired differently.
Mm-hmm.
So because you're wired differently, that means the way that you process information
Right.
is going to be different,
Right.
right?
Exactly. No, I have dyslexia too.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
dyslexic
Yeah.
twins!
Yay.
Yay! It's a
Yeah, no,
wonderful,
it's
wonderful
why I
brain.
can't read music. Like, I loved music my whole life. I used to sing and whatever, and I cannot read music because the lines shift on me. Like they move around, and I can't track what note is where. It's really hard.
Well, I play guitar and I know the chords,
Right.
and I know like where to put things on the fretboard, but the second you're okay, like G major on like the A, I'm like A flat, or I don't know, man, I'm making this bullshit up. I'm
Yeah.
like, what?
No, I have to see it.
I have to show me.
Yeah. No, and I was like, as a kid, it was really frustrating because my parents had us in a private school for a while, and
Okay.
it was religious private school, and they had no help for people like me, at all. And it wasn't like, I'm finally coming to terms that it wasn't that I was dumb. It was just that I learned differently. And the big thing for me was like, I needed to know why I'm doing this. Like, why am I replacing X with Y, or whatever? Algebra was hard for me. But it was the how of it, or the why of it. I'm like, but why are we doing this? Like, what is this going to help me with? And then, of course, because I went to school in the 80s and 90s, they're like, what are you going to do? Carry a calculator in your pocket all day when you get older? I'm like, yup. Yes, I am.
Well, thankfully, like today's days, we have smartphones. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we don't really have like that kind of problem
No,
anymore.
we don't. No, thank God. And I just want to shove it in all their faces.
Well, one of the coolest thing, like for example, you probably remember before we had maps on our smartphones.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time where you actually had to use a physical map, and you would have to like know where you're going,
Yep.
and actually like know how to read highway signs. And it's like one of those things as an adult, because I'm only 25 years old. Like,
Right.
I can proudly read a highway sign and a marker on the highway, and like,
good. Good for you.
and like I can like navigate myself like without using, like if my phone died, I think I could navigate myself to a certain level.
Right.
But holy shit, most people don't know how.
No, our oldest is 21, and she has no idea how to get anywhere if her phone isn't where I'm like, look, you're going to hit dead spots sometimes. Like, you need to know how to read a map. You need to know.
Remembering signs and where they're located. Yeah.
Exactly. No, it's crazy. And I saw a video the other day of a guy that was like, I was explaining to my child that we didn't always have this, and the kid asked, well, what did you use? And the dad was like, well, a paper map. And the kid said, like a pirate? Yup. Just like a pirate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the maps, they were hard to read.
Yeah.
If I remember my parent. Oh my god. So my dad was Moroccan and my mom was Jewish and from Brooklyn.
Okay.
So road trips.
That's a mix. I love it.
Road trips were hell. Okay. Because my mother would be reading the pamphlet and she'd say, honey, you're supposed to be making a left. No, it's exit 89. What's the matter with you? Okay, I told you it's exit 89. Okay, now we have to turn around. All right, get to the shoulder. Get to the shoulder. This is what I had to deal with as a kid.
That's amazing. Oh my god.
God.
That is amazing.
Listen, if you could have a photograph of this, you know what I mean? Or just like a video. But like we didn't
We didn't have easy access to that stuff.
No.
No. That's really
Yeah.
funny. Are
Oh
you
my
an only
God.
child?
I like to believe so, but I'm not.
Okay.
I'm the youngest. So my brother above me was born the youngest. Was
Mm-hmm.
born, I believe, 84.
Okay.
So we're 16 years apart.
That's a big jump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like he's 40 and I'm in my 20s, and then when he's in
Right.
his 50s, I'm gonna be in my 30s.
Yeah.
It's a little weird, but it's okay.
Yeah.
I outlive them, so I'm happy.
There you go.
I'm not complaining.
That's really funny.
You
I
know,
know my mom gives me that crap all the time. She was a teenager when she had me, and she's like, "Well, there's a good chance I'll outlive you." I'm like, "Oh, good. Then I won't have to take care of you in old age."
Yay! Oh God! You know, it's funny though, because like in my family, what's kind of has happened is where me and my sister, we're predominantly like my dad.
Mm-hmm.
So like my mom barely makes up any of my body. It's like I don't know what happened between my parents, but like that connection between, you know, the making, it's like the egg was just like, nah, honey, I'm gonna take a little break. You do all the work. I'm gonna wait right here.
Oh my God.
And then we were, you know, like we were just the combination that just happened, you know? And
yeah.
it's really strange because like when you look at like a picture of me and my dad, it's
Mm-hmm.
like a little like and it's bananas. Like when you
Yeah.
think about generational history, it's where not only do you have an offspring,
Mm-hmm.
but your offspring looks like you.
Yes. Except none of my I had two, and I have my stepdaughter. My kids don't look like me at all. Their dad's genes were stronger, and they
They all
look
look
like
like their
their
dad.
dad. They look like their dad, and my daughter hates it. She's like, "Why?" She's very Irish. She's got kind of a square face, and she's like, "I hate it." Like very dramatic about it, but but she's adorable. Like she's got these red curls and this
Real
dimples,
Irish.
and
Real
oh my God,
Irish.
she is adorable. And
Did you,
and everybody thinks that she's adorable except for her.
did you dress her up as Meredith for Halloween?
I did not, because she wouldn't let me at that point. And she was blonde as a baby. It kind of turned red later.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, she did love Merida though. I don't know.
I mean,
She was
just
into Irish
ideas.
dance for a minute. Yeah.
Oh my God. I went to an Irish pub. I think it was yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I just wow. It's a very different it's a very different world. You know what I mean? Like there's no leprechauns. No, I can contest, but Irish people have a very interesting culture.
Yeah. Yes, they do. It's drinking a lot.
Oh, okay.
That's
A
the
lot
culture.
of alcohol. Anything that
It's all the Guinness. I don't.
Oh, Jesus.
No, so like my mom is Scottish and Irish and English, and their
Okay.
dad was Irish and Polish. So
Irish,
my kids weren't
Polish.
raised like any. Yeah, I know.
Such a okay.
I'm actually 9 different nationalities, and then the kids have the extra as Polish, so they're 10 different nationalities. So I was actually, my grandparents lived next door to us for forever, and my grandfather's Italian, like off the boat Italian, so we were raised very Italian. My grandmother was German. So,
oh my God,
yeah,
honey,
there's a whole bunch in there.
You are like just
I'm like
a
pure
celebration.
American.
You're like the United Nations.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's weird.
Oh my God, I'm loving this.
There's a lot. But yeah, my grandfather was Italian, so we grew up very Italian. So I don't know much about the Irish stuff. And I wish I did, but they were all kind of dead when I lived. So
Aw.
they kind of died off. But my mom has stories about her grandfather having this really thick Scottish accent and her grandmother having an equally thick English accent. And he worked in the coal mines in Pennsylvania, for Pennsylvania for forever, since he was 8 years old. So he died of black lung in the 60s, and then she died shortly after.
Nice.
Yeah, but yeah, we kind of lost that because we were
Miner's
just
life.
yeah, you're here, you're American, you speak American. So that's a whole thing too. Like my grandfather didn't teach us Italian, which I wish he would have.
My
But
dad never taught me his native tongue.
yeah.
Never, like, it was, and it's strange because, again, I know I like this whole kind of conversation just kind of ties around photography, and it's weird,
Mhm.
like looking back at photographs of my dad when he immigrated to this country.
Mhm.
You see a very sad person. This, like, he left his family very young. My
Mhm.
dad never Americanized. He stayed very Moroccan.
Mhm.
And it did make matters worse the fact that there was 9/11.
Oh my god, he came here. Oh man.
So he came here in the 70s, and my dad had citizenship in the 90s. And then after 9/11, you know, people honestly don't get this a lot. Like, the Muslim and Islamic community here in the United States is very old. They've
Yeah,
been here just as long as Jews have been here, like going back to the
right.
late 1800s.
Right.
But again, people kind of forget those photographs and people kind of forget those memories and stories. And
Mhm.
immigrants that have generally come to this country have always kind of been mistreated, whether white, black, Asian,
Oh, for
Hispanic.
sure. Yeah.
Just always,
Yep.
yeah.
It has. And I mean, honestly, I have some of the pictures from my grandparents' house when they passed away, but I don't have all of them, and a few boxes were lost. My uncle took them and whatever. But I do wish that I had some of the older pictures of Sicily, of all of these places that they came from, just to see. It's interesting to look back a few generations and see who you look like and see who what, and you can kind of tell their personality in the pictures, except for the ones like really old that you've had to sit still for and not
And you're
smile
like,
and all the rest. Yeah, you're very stiff. Stay as
you're,
still as you can.
you're just
Yeah.
like, don't move, don't move.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so thank God we don't have to deal with that anymore. But
No.
it's funny. It's like my great my great grandmother. She's, I mean, that side of the family's been here forever. They're German and whatever. But I have these pictures of her newspaper. She made it in the newspaper because her and her gang of friends decided to wear knickerbockers. They decided to wear short pants and a vest and a man's shirt and all that. Nobody did that in the 20s. Like nobody. So there, I could tell that I definitely run. My stuff comes from her
Oh
for
my
sure.
God.
I love it. Yeah, newspaper was like, oh, and
Rebels.
here's these girls wearing blah blah blah, and their names are, their
Scandalous.
addresses are. It's like,
Very,
oh, maybe not.
yeah, very scandalous.
Very. Don't show an ankle.
One of my somebody showed me this. There was an article, and I thought this was bizarre. There was this research article that was from 1958,
Mm.
and the title of it was "The Superpowers of LSD." And it was an article of this researcher, and there was like a picture of like this girl, like, tripping out and like explaining like the therapies of LSD.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wait a minute, this came out in 1958. you
Yep.
know? And then like look at an article about drugs like in the 70s
Mhm.
and you piss your pants cuz it's like drugs are bad.
Yep.
So you should know.
Yep.
Exclamation point.
Yep.
Okay, what about that article? No, 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 that drugs are bad.
Yeah.
And it's like just like that random or like they had in the 80s those stupid commercials where like the guy's making eggs and the dad just
Oh,
walks
yeah.
up to you and it's like, don't do drugs, son. And it's like, supported by the United States government. Don't do drugs. I'm like, what is him making
Or
breakfast?
this is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got that a lot. So like the worst thing I do is smoke pot. But it's not the worst because it helps me in lots of things. But you know, you mention it to some of the older people, like my husband, and it sounds hoity-toity. I promise it is not sailing like a yacht or a rich person thing at all. My husband raises sailboats, so we are constantly
Nice.
around all of these like older hippies. Also, kind of like they did smoke pot in the 60s, but now they're afraid of it because of the campaign that they had during the 80s and 90s for not doing
Mm.
drugs. And it's the same thing with my mom. I'm like, pot would help you so much with all of your pains and your joints and your whatever. Like, you would be a much happier person if you would just smoke pot. And she's like, no, I couldn't do that, you know? So it's like, it's breaking through all of this. It's trying to break through all of this nonsense that the media has put on them.
And
But I,
trauma. Yeah.
yeah. No, I really wish that you could take a picture of what's happening in somebody's mind when they're on LSD or mushrooms or whatever, because it's a
They
profound
did
experience.
they did scans with psilocybin.
Mm,
Okay, that shit is wild. So
yeah.
the way like first of all it's in the back of the brain and then what it looks
Ah,
like is basically the psilocybin enters and
okay.
like your brain kind of like does this and there's like a little moment of communication and all of a sudden it's like and it just goes through your entire like system. You're like and the researchers were saying like as it's almost as if the psilocybin was like, hi brain, hi psilocybin, I'm here to intoxicate you. Okay, come this way. And it just
It
but isn't that amazing from like just a
is.
simple plant that your
Yeah.
brain cannabidiol, which is the thing that cannabis interacts in your body. It
Mm-hmm.
just comes through, brain connects to it and flows right through.
Yep.
Why? Why do we have these things? You know, and
Well, that's the thing. Like, it's as if we were given all of the tools we needed to be mentally healthy human beings. Like, it's
right.
all there in nature, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ayahuasca, you know, like all of
Mm-hmm.
these things. And I cannot. Oh, my husband won't watch this anyway, but he doesn't know that I've done mushrooms. But I
I've done
can't tell
mushrooms.
you.
I've done peyote. I've done ayahuasca. Honey,
Have
you
you
were in
really?
yes, you're in a very safe
That's great.
space.
Um, No, it was like 30 years of like therapy in about 3 hours. It was so like I was able to like let go of the trauma and let go of all of these memories that I had that I was like almost clinging to, like I was almost romanticizing trauma, right? Like I was just kind of like, oh, I can't do that because, you know, people think bad of me because I'm already a bad person for whatever. I get that like tailspin in my head of, you know, nobody's gonna, but I was able to put it aside. Like I was able to be like, oh, that was 40 years, 30 years ago. Like, why am I still thinking about that? That's so stupid. Nobody cares, you know? And I was able to like take myself out of it, which was amazing. And now they're doing all kinds of addiction stuff with psilocybin. And I'm like, yeah, because it's rewire. It's like, it's absolutely rewiring your brain. And it's an amazing therapy tool. And I wish it would be more legal everywhere. I guess Colorado, I think, just legalized it or is going to. Um,
You know, you touched on something really beautiful because, and I think this is I think this is actually the best way to end with this is the
sure.
fact that as photographers and as artists and as creators, I'm not saying that you should go out and do drugs. What I'm
No.
saying is that it, even in your own experience, it allows you to see the world and process the world in a very different way.
Mm-hmm.
Where now, whether it be the mushrooms or not, allows you to connect with women and give them this type of experience and interaction that
Mm-hmm.
you enjoy doing. It's a part of your creative path and journey.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I've heard Joe Rogan say this like before. Imagine if every single person just took like one dose of mushrooms all at once. Imagine what the world would look like when everybody woke up.
Yep.
Be fucking utopia, I'll tell you that right now. Some people will go
Yeah.
fucking mad and try to jump off buildings and shit, but
Sure.
yeah,
There's always that.
there's always that.
Well, I feel like it's a way governments are controlling their people. Like it is, how can you outlaw a plant, right? Like it grows naturally everywhere. I honestly think that it's, they got in this tailspin of drugs are bad. And it was a way to like stop people from waking up. Like the hippies were all doing it, and they're like, "No hippies," and and the
And
pot that was for the people of color stuff. Like they're like, "Oh, black people are bad, so we're gonna outlaw pot." It's
it's crazy.
awful.
It's crazy. It's because now the minority community, yes, including people such as Irish and Scandinavian descent, and the people like, for example, the hippie movement, like
Hmm.
it still exists today. Is that they don't realize that like it's now stronger than it's ever has been. They have no more control. We're
No,
doing something that they can never control, this podcast, because I
and
have
that
the
comes down
right.
to videos and pictures that everybody can whip out their phone, and like the stuff that happened in Miami Mall or the stuff that
Yes.
happened, whatever, and they try and cover their tracks and they can't anymore.
Nope.
Like we're seeing these weird things everywhere, and we're taking pictures and videos of it, and they can't stop us. They have no control of that.
None.
Yeah.
None. You go by Elizabeth or Liz?
Liz is fine. Yeah.
Okay. So, Liz, question for you. We
Yeah.
were talking about your photography and all
Sure.
of your amazing work. Where can the hell these people find your stuff?
Oh, absolutely. So I gave up on TikTok. I'm not on there anymore.
Oh, I don't blame
It
you.
just wasn't working. Yeah. So Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I am ESP LLC on almost everything. Otherwise, just search Elizabeth Snyder Photography. I should pop up.
Perfect. You have a website?
Awesome. I do. ElizabethSnyderPhotography.com, and I did not think about that before I made that very long URL. But yes.
I'm gonna add your stuff in the podcast description.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so people be able to find you. And I mean, I always say this, like, it's always amazing to have a great conversation, but it's always great when you can get, not only in depth, but like kind of figure out, why do you do the things that you love doing?
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Yep.
Well, listen, it's been a pleasure, Liz. Thank you so much for coming on. And for all you wild motherfuckers out there that managed to stay here this long, you can find the podcast on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Lost in the Groove Pod. So with that, I'm going to catch you on the next one. All right. Bye, everybody.